Hello, I'm Michele Baron. I'm here with Amanda Schuh. We are two of the three health coaches over at the Brandwein Institute. We're missing our third coach, Jill, today. We kind of thought we would do a coach's corner today. While Meryl is away, the coaches will play. Um, so we're going to dive into all things coaching today. And Amanda and I are going to talk about a little bit about ourselves, how and why we got into coaching. How the health coaches are integrated into our practice and why they're such a big part of helping our clients through their healing journey. Some techniques we use to help clients reach their goals, the importance of the client's vision, and we're going to share some success stories from our clients also. So you're going to see it from our angle today.
Yeah,
So, Amanda, how are you?
I'm doing so good. I'm so happy to be on here with you and really kind of spotlighting what it is that we do behind the scenes at the Brandwein Institute. And I think this is a much needed conversation, right? Like, we're a big part of the team that I feel like, you might not necessarily get to know exactly what it is we do until you work with us one on one. And so this kind of just highlights what it is that we do. And so I'm excited.
Me too. I think it's funny, like what you just said, about the health coaches and what we do and stuff, because it's funny when most people come and call in to our office, they have no idea that when they start their journey, even on the first session, there's an extra person in on there. And a lot of times, they're like, who is this and what are they doing here? Not realizing, what our role is and the relationships that we will end up forming with our clients.
Oh, absolutely. It's so funny because I had a session with a client a couple weeks ago, and she was like, I didn't know what to expect working with a coach and kind of having this collaborative effort into my healing. And she's like, I am so pleasantly surprised. And so I feel like there's not a better time now than to really showcase what it is that we do. Because, like you said, there's always this extra person in these sessions. Like, who is this person and why are they here and what do they do? So I guess with that, Michele, tell me what I want to hear, or I'm sure everybody wants to know who you are and how you got into health coaching in the first place.
Sure. Yes. So I am a mother of three children. I live in Parkland, and I've always loved exercise. I've always loved cooking. I'm sort of like the person in the family, who always comes to or hosts, any event with tons and tons of food, trying new things, getting people involved. I love to be in the kitchen. I actually started out my career. I'm a speech pathologist by trade. But along my journey of having children, we had some stuff along the way, and I took a break from that to be with my children. And I really, really enjoyed that time. But when it was time to get back to work, I got to the point where I was ready to do something. It turned out that my daughter was having severe stomach issues, and we were going back and forth to doctors and trying to get to the heart of the matter. It turned out that she had ulcers, and in healing that, I found my path.
Hmm.
So, and then as we have continued that path, my son, has developed leaky gut and, working on that. So it's always a work in progress to help all of our health, but we've had some bumps along the road that have made it even more important to pay such close attention.
Mm.
So that's what got me in, and I've been working with Meryl for October will be 6 years. So it's been a fun and exciting, and I never stop learning on this journey.
Yeah, right. I mean, that is such a journey. It's a journey as a healer and as somebody as a coach, and we're always seeking new information and new ways to help others. So yeah, I think that's so spot on. Um,
And we're also learning from our clients. I feel like that should get some attention too.
yeah,
you know Everything that they share with us, it becomes a lot more intimate than I think that most people anticipate.
yeah. Oh,
Most people come in thinking either they want to lose weight or get healthy or whatever their goals are. A lot of other things are uncovered that they really probably had no idea that needed uncovering or needed attention.
oh my gosh. Yes, yes to that. Ugh. So, thanks for sharing your journey and how you got into this work, right?
Tell me about yours.
Yeah, from helping to heal your family. It's so interesting to hear how everybody falls into this. It's usually them helping themselves on this journey to healing, or someone in their loved ones. So yeah, mine was a long journey to get here, but I was pretty sick in my early 20s. I had a lot of really bizarre, strange symptoms that 18 years ago doctors were stumped by, and it was probably 5 years and 30 doctors later before I got an actual diagnosis. And I was told, well, you have this POTS dysautonomia condition, and you'll never be able to fix it. But here's some supplements or here's some prescriptions you could take, and go on about your life. And something just didn't sit well with that. And I was like, no, there's like nobody's telling me why. And that was my strength of love of learning was coming out. And I was like, no, like I am not going to settle for just like, this is what you have and there's nothing you could do about it. And so it led me on a long road to self-discovery and self-exploration with different lifestyle things and diets, and working with different physicians. And ultimately I ended up discovering functional medicine, which helped me get to the root cause of a lot of these imbalances that I had. And from there I actually worked with a health coach one-on-one and had just this tremendous experience. And even before that, actually I did get certified through the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, because I wanted to learn more when I was a mom, right when I had my son. And so I was starting to get the wheels in motion, like I want to do this work, I just don't know what that looks like. And then after I worked with this functional medicine doctor and worked with this functional medicine health coach, I thought, oh my gosh, this is like my calling. And I had such a tremendous experience. And I healed on so many levels, not just on a physical level, but mentally and spiritually and emotionally. And so I knew I needed to go back and do this course and dive deeper. And so that's ultimately what led me into doing this work. And every day I just think like what a gift it is to be able to be alongside these clients and help them through these really challenging times. Or sometimes it's just to get some good tools in their toolkit. And every session is different, but I do think it is an absolute privilege to be able to support these clients, right? It's really hard stuff they're going through, and we get to sit in those hard moments with them and help them through it.
I agree. And I also think the fact that coming from your healing path gives it a different light as well,
Mm.
right? Like I know I have issues with, my gut too, but you dealing with your autoimmune stuff takes it to a whole nother level. And the frustration that you have felt trying to get to where you needed to be, you can really feel that for your clients, because some of them have been to plenty of doctors and plenty of other healers before they get to, Meryl's doorstep.
Oh, absolutely. No, that's such a
So,
good point. And I think, like I said, it really does feel like a privilege, because when I'm sitting in these sessions with clients who are really struggling and feeling like they're constantly hitting these roadblocks, and, feeling frustrated with their body, feeling frustrated with these practitioners, I do feel like I can really relate with them and help them navigate this, because it's challenging. But that's the benefit of having a coach in your corner, is just that you're able to talk through these things and you have someone cheering you on from the sidelines. And if only everybody had the great fortune of having a coach, and even us, we need coaches. And so
right. But it's nice too. The synergy that we all have between me, you, and Jill is fantastic, because
yes.
we can bounce things off of each other also. So it's like we do have our own personal coaches along with Meryl,
Mhm.
to share like, okay, what does this mean? How can I help this? And, if an obstacle comes, because it always does, how do we get over it? How do we work through it? So, having a coach is really, very beneficial for everyone.
Yeah,
Um, and
absolutely.
it's the day to day. Like what I feel like my clients benefit from is the day to day. Like take advantage of that. They have access to us through our chats, so that they can reach out to us if anything comes up, for a small win, a big win, an obstacle, a challenge, and we are there to root them on, or to help, find ways around, to find a better path. So I feel like when getting involved, working with us, most people don't even know, that that is going to happen and be there for them.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Right. That is such a unique offering that we do provide to clients, is that they do have this access to us, not only in those long 45-minute, weekly sessions that they have with us, but that there's still this availability via our portal to communicate, right? The small wins, the big wins, they could share what they're eating, like there's this constant um, connection that happens between us and the clients throughout their journey. And I think that's so
Yeah.
cool. Um,
Yeah, I had someone like on their vacation just send me a message. I was checking in on them. Hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. How's it going? And just saying, okay, I'm doing well. I'm just a snap, but it's good to hear like, okay, there's somebody, there's a voice in my ear. There's somebody looking out for me.
yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that. So I guess segueing into kind of what it is that, makes us unique, right? How we're integrated into Meryl's, functional nutrition practice. Um, how, like, explain to the viewer or the viewers or the listeners, like what makes us such an integral part of the practice, right? And what makes us unique in terms of, there's a lot of health coaches out there, but what makes us
Right.
unique being plugged into the practice?
So what I think is unique, and we can bounce this off of each other and say, what you think, and
Yeah.
the pros and cons. The pros, I don't really know that there are any cons because having more ears on, an initial. So that's how it really starts. You come in, or we do it through virtually, and the initial is an hour and a half sharing of everything from childhood all the way to now, from whatever age you are, because all that stuff really, really matters. And having those extra ears and eyes to see, really the eyes too, because the emotions really play a role. And you can, watch and see when, different things, how they affect people when they're sharing their stories. Um, and then helping Meryl as she comes up with a plan to then take it to the next level, because we are really the people who will be working with the clients on the day to day and on the weekly in our meetings until they come back with, if they're doing testing, with the results that Meryl will go over in depth, and we'll break it down and then help them, you know, incorporate that into their day to day. So having someone who's in there listening, like a lot of times you go places and it's like so much information. If you go to a doctor's office and you walk out like, I don't even know what just happened. So having someone there to be like, okay, I have all the notes on it. I have everything that you need for your next steps, breaking it down, setting up goals, and being strategic in the planning.
Yeah, right. And the notes, right? Like having, like you said, you go to the doctor, right? And especially if you're working in functional medicine and let's say they don't have a health coach in their practice, you're walking away with this robust protocol of, and you're supposed to just be able to just go out there and have the motivation and determination and grit to just be able to, start implementing those things. And that's what makes the practice so unique, is that we have this co-collaborative approach to helping the clients reach their health goals, right? And they're implementing these recommendations and we're helping them work through those. And then just being able to sit in on every session where we can take, lengthy notes and be able to recap. Okay, this is what you guys talked about. I know it was a lot of information. And then on a follow-up coaching call, so let's talk through this. Like, what do you have any questions? I know that was a lot, and just being able to kind of break it down for them in a way that's like digestible and helping them kind of piece through what the next steps are, I think is so invaluable.
Right. And I was going to say also that, like, a lot of times our clients leave with like their mojo, like, okay, I'm ready to go. And then you have the follow up, right? If you leave without that sort of cheerleader on your side, then what happens? It's like you go home and then it's like, all right, I'm not really sure what to do. The follow up, the rapport that we create with our clients, I really feel like is invaluable.
Yeah. And also, obviously talking about like the behavior piece, because you could have these high expectations and grandiose plans for what you're going to do and so motivated, like you said, you're so gung-ho, but then you go back and then, like, what's that belief system about yourself? Are you somebody who self-sabotages a good thing that's coming your way? Or, and that's the stuff that we really get to help work with these clients on, because a lot of the time, like you said in the beginning, they're really motivated, but then like they fall off, and then, okay, well, let's talk about that. Like, why are we falling off? Where's those obstacles? What's holding you back? How can we create some some consistency here? How can we start to get you to change how you think about yourself, right? Like that's the stuff that no one's talking about when it comes to coaching that really helps these clients not only, create some change, but start to change how they think about themselves and what they become capable of doing.
Right, right. And it's funny you say that because as we were preparing for this podcast, I've been, listening to other podcasts and just going about life. And two quotes I wrote down that came up, and you sort of just hit on them. One of them was, "We can make excuses or get results." And I feel like that really hits home because we are there to help people and like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. And just basically opening their eyes. There's no judgment or confrontation. It's just more like, okay, well, what can we do to make this happen? Right. So, like, then they sort of start realizing like I know it's an excuse but I have to do this, and like with awareness comes change.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is really the place where everything happens, you know.
Mhm.
The other quote I heard was, "To wish for change will change nothing." So
Mhm.
a lot of people like, "I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that." And like, we get them on that level. Like, start small. Look for one small thing that you can change. And when you do, we'll celebrate that. Stick with that for a while, and then we'll add something else. Like,
Mhm.
it's not like you come in and you have to change your whole entire world. You have help, you have support, and it's the little things that really make the big differences.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I think it's so important to celebrate the wins, no matter how big or small, because, we're often so critical and harsh on ourselves, and we don't celebrate all the things that are going well and all the things that we're doing that are filling ourselves up in a positive way. And so I just think, one of the things that I do at the end of every session is I will recap what their wins are, what they shared in the session. Maybe they didn't even realize that that was a win, but they shared it. And I highlight, you did this, this is a win. And then ask them, how do you celebrate your wins? And people are very uncomfortable. You'd be surprised. They're like, huh? Like, I'll only celebrate a win if like it's something so significant. And I'm like, no, like celebrate, even if it's just, I don't know, going out to dinner to your favorite restaurant with your family or your friends, or getting that pedicure, whatever it is. Like, I think it's so important to celebrate the wins, no matter how big or small. So I'm so glad you brought that up.
I agree. And I always tell my clients, like, look backwards to see how far you've come, because
Mhm.
really that's where the beauty is. Like, from the day to day, sometimes it's hard to see. And then you get stuck in, oh, I'm not seeing whatever it is, if they're not seeing it like so profoundly. But if you look backwards and you see, like, well, actually, I started walking and I haven't been doing that. I started snacking on, vegetables instead of chips. And that's something new. I started sleeping a little bit better. It's the small wins that accumulate that turn into something big, but sometimes they're missed. So, we don't always have to look for these huge, huge, uh, milestones. It's the
Mhm.
little things that really create the person that you want to be.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I guess segueing into like the next topic that I think we can kind of talk about, like some of the techniques that you would say you help, like maybe an initial session with a client, or like talk me through, I don't know, a typical session, maybe your first session with a client, a new, eager,
Yes, yes, yes.
excited client.
So, I'm working at their speed and at their level. I'm never going to push anyone to do, you know, anything that they don't want to do to a degree, right? So, like, if someone comes in and they're having 6 sodas a day, I'm going to create some awareness around that, right? And talk about eventually maybe we can change these things. You know, um, I think that getting to know your client is really the most important first step. So, those first sessions, you are creating a relationship that, it's a cross between coaching and, therapy, and there's friendship in there too. So it's a really beautiful thing that I cherish all of the relationships that I have with each of my clients because they're all so special and different. And just meeting them at their level, if they went through the initial and they're like, okay, I have no idea what just happened there, even though they have the notes and everything, that's okay. I can go over, a meal plan or what works for them. how we work together, how to go through the testing if that's what they are doing, and just breaking things down simple. And then talking about first steps, creating goals that are attainable, right? We're not going to shoot for the stars right away. We're going to slowly get there, but we have to see what little steps we have to take in order to get there eventually. So, it's all about being attainable and finding some success and having them realize, this is not a sprint, right? I don't want to say it's a marathon because it does take time, but everybody's speed is different. So, and I let them know I am there to support them along the way.
Yeah.
How about you?
Oh,
Tell me about your
that's so
sessions.
beautiful. How lucky are these clients to have you as a coach? Oh my goodness.
Same for you.
Oh my gosh. And I love that you said, like the rapport is so important because we are sitting in these once a week sessions with these clients for 45 minutes, right? And they're opening up themselves, vulnerable parts of themselves to us in all different facets, right? It's never just the food, it's never just the movement. Like there's so many dimensions to us.
Mhm.
I do think, the rapport is such a special part of this dynamic relationship that we get to create. And, as far as like with my sessions, kind of similar, right? That initial session, I want to get to know you. I want to know what your strengths are. A lot of the time, I'll have clients fill out this VIA character strength survey so we can find out like what are your top 5 strengths? How can you utilize those and harness those strengths to create some of these lifestyle changes? Because these are already innate to who you are, right? So let's like figure out what they are, what makes you you, and then how can we draw on those strengths during maybe some sort of obstacle or just a time of uncertainty. Okay, well, this is what you can lean on. So like, how do we harness that strength, right? So I do think having that is really important. And like you said, really it's a matter of where they're ready to start is where you start, right? I can't tell you how many clients are like, we give the recommendation, they're like, I'm absolutely not doing that, I'm not ready. I'm like, okay, we don't touch that for now, let's put it on the shelf. It's
Right.
still important, but let's put it on the shelf and let's start with where you're ready to start right now, right? And
And then life happens too. Like they may be ready for one thing, and then all of a sudden, something either great or terrible may happen in their life, and you have to like adjust and set back to that. If they have a loss, or a child leaves for college, or this and that, and now their world's completely different, their sleep is off. It's like just adjusting to where they're at and meeting them and being there to support them.
yeah. Oh my gosh, absolutely. Because that is the reality of life, isn't it? Right? Like there's going to be things that throw you off course. So, but that's the nice part about having this type of commitment you make to yourself to be a part of this program where you have us in your corner where we're like, hey, that's okay. Life kicked your butt right now. Let's get back on the horse, and helping them build these toolkits so that, they have these skills or these techniques and things that they can put in place that they already know and feel confident using, right? And so that's part of this work too. And I could tell you all day long how to live a healthy lifestyle, but like the idea is that when you get out on your own, that you have this toolkit and that you feel confident in using and how to use it when you need it, right? Like if you're really stressed out and you feel that stress monster mounting up, okay, well, what have I used in the past that's helped me work through stress? Oh, 4-7-8 breath work, or going
Mhm.
outside for 5 minutes and grounding my feet and putting my hands on my heart and taking a deep breath in and a long exhale out. Like having these type of tools that they have for the rest of their life, right? I think is so crucial to just our well-being. So
100%. And even like opening their eyes. I have like plenty of people who start out who've never exercised before, and finding that exercise really helps them with other things like stress. I always say, for me, exercise is the best stress relief. It's the best answer for me. But I do encourage my clients to move their bodies. And when they do, and I'll say, listen to a podcast, listen to nature, talk to a friend, connect with yourself, anything like that. And those things are eye-opening for them. Like, wow, this is something, like it's almost like a gift that they didn't even know they had in their own back pocket that they can gift themselves with. It's multiple fold.
yeah, oh my gosh, so true, so true. Yeah, so talk to me. I want to talk a little bit about like client vision. because I do feel like creating goals without a vision, the big picture, almost, that why are we doing this? What's the vision of the future you? Like, I do feel like that's so important. So tell me, like, is that stuff that you work through with your clients as well? Because I know I do, but I'm curious to hear from you, like, what that
Yeah.
looks
100%. And I feel like that starts at the initial. What is your why? Why are you here? Why did you step foot? Right? What was the reason for your initial phone call to get started to work with us? And it always goes back to that. So, like, that's always somewhere in my notes. It may not come out on their side, but it's always in there. Like, okay, stomach upset or whatever, pain or stress or whatever that is. It's always like, okay, what can we do to work towards relieving that pain or whatever target is, but always knowing that, like, the why is the reason why you came here. So that is what we are going to always go back to, and those are how we form, or I form, my goals, right, to get there eventually. It's the small steps that you get there. So again, we're not reaching to get there in the first week or two or three. It's a step-by-step process. And, we're watching other things unfold as we go to help them create the life that they enjoy living and they feel their best.
Yeah. Right. And I feel like, the why is important. I feel like not only in the first session, right? But the reminder throughout the sessions, like, okay, this was your reason for joining us here. Do you feel like the things you're doing are getting you closer to, right, what you want to hope to achieve, or is it getting you further away? And I think you've shared that before, something like that, that's
Uh-huh.
something you say
Uh-huh.
often in your
Right. That's like another tagline that I always say. Are you creating obstacles for yourself, or are you paving the way to reach those goals? And, we want their vision for them, but we can't want it more than them.
yeah.
So encouraging our clients to do the work is our job, but they have to put the work in.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I often will ask, especially in the very beginning, our first session, I always want to know their why, but then I want to know, like, waving a magical wand, let's say 3 to 6 months from now, what do you look like? What do you feel like? What becomes possible if you start to create these changes, to get them to have this mental, physical buy-in, and have them feel what that would feel like, have them close their eyes, like, okay, well, what does so and so look like when she is sleeping and she's exercising? Like, what becomes possible? And they're like, oh, well, I'm nicer, I'm more patient, I'm not as grumpy because I didn't sleep the night before. And having them
Mhm.
get this mental, emotional picture of, like, the future them, I often will bring that into each session. And I always ask them, like, when they, when let's say we're talking about sleep, okay, well, what is what is the reason that you're looking to do this? Like, why is this important to you right now? Why today are you committed to getting a better sleep routine? And then, then that kind of ties into, well, I'm really grumpy. I'm not patient. I feel like I'm just snappy all day long because I haven't slept. Okay, good. So getting the emotional buy-in as to why we should implement these changes around sleep, is often.
Yeah, and I love that you said that, because a lot of times people aren't aware why they're grumpy or why they're acting a certain way. So, you're really digging deep.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like, what becomes possible when you make these changes? What stays
Right.
the same? Okay, I'm still grumpy, I'm not nice, I'm short,
Right.
I'm irritable. Okay, well, maybe I'm easier to be around and I could be my best self and I feel refreshed, right? So, the mindset piece is so important, because we could create goals all day long, but, like, why are we creating them? And what's the future us? What are the benefits of the future us will reap by doing these things?
Right.
So,
And creating that space where it is safe to say things like that, because not everybody will walk around and say, and I've had clients say this, like, I yell at my kids and it doesn't make me feel good,
mm,
but it's a safe place. Like, other people feel like that, and that's okay to say it, but you might not feel like it's okay to say it to other people, and I'm sure you've had this also. I've had people with all different types of trauma, all different types of things that they've gone through, whether they're leaving a job, a spouse, a relationship, or whatever that is. It's creating a safe space to say the things that they need. So there are tears shed plenty of times in sessions, as I'm sure you have that as well. So I feel like it's important to say those things too, because I don't know that everybody realizes that, it's not just nutrition and, the scale and all that. There's so much more. There's so many hidden jewels.
Oh my gosh, yes. And that goes back to those pillars of health. And I know Meryl talks about that in the initial consultation. But when I have my first one on ones with them after they've signed up to work with us, I do go through those, right? Like, so what does movement look like? What is mental emotional? What does the mental emotional aspect of your life look like? How is nutrition? How is sleep and relaxation? What is your environment? Like, it's so encompassing. It's not just one thing. And, I think that surprises a lot of our clients is that they're like, they think they could just ignore it. I don't sleep. I've never been a good sleeper. Well, I'll tell you what, you're not going to move the needle forward if you don't sleep, right? So,
Yeah.
so it is all encompassing. And, oftentimes these sessions do feel like some form of therapy for them, for us as, as coaches, and, and creating a safe environment and a safe space for them to feel comfortable and confident enough to share that with us is like, it's such an honor and a privilege, right? That these people open up their lives to us and trust us. And,
Yep.
I just think it's such a gift. So,
I agree, 100%. I feel like we're lucky to do what we do. The gift of being able to help people and, be along the journey with them and watch them transform and evolve is incredible.
yeah.
And I share that in my notes too. Like usually the first line is like, "I'm so proud of you. You said, this happened," or sort of just reinstating what they have shared and celebrating. Because we are right along with them.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. And something else I always try to do is like get them to start to feel this sense of autonomy and empowerment on their own. Like I'll even say like, are you proud of yourself right now? Like, did you give yourself credit for that? And most of the time they're like, no, they poo poo it or dismiss it. I'm like, no, that is something to be proud of. Like, how will you celebrate? Right? Like, this is all about encouragement, all about having them feel confident in the choices they make and celebrate, the wins, because like we said, those wins are important.
While also sharing like protocols. I want to
Yeah.
keep that in mind too. Like whatever testing comes out, and then the results that come out, we are then right alongside with them, making sure that they are following protocols and guiding them
Mm.
nutritionally and lifestyle wise also. But sometimes there are supplements that they need to take and different foods that they have to beware of or that they should be eating, and we're right there also sharing that knowledge and guiding them with that information as well, which is really important too.
Oh my God, so important. And, going back to like what makes our practice so unique is this co collaboration that happens with like, you have Meryl as the practitioner. She's going through the diagnostics of the test. She's telling you the recommendations. And then, we're helping you implement those recommendations. And, some of these things are not, they're extreme, right? We're telling you cut out gluten, cut out dairy, cut out eggs, right? Cut out these things that are familiar to you. And then we help you to create some sort of plan around that in a way that feels doable for the client, because it is a little overwhelming oftentimes.
Yeah. And also knowing if they need help along the way in other directions too, like sometimes they need extra help, and having those resources to share as well is really important too.
Oh my gosh, yes. Right. 100%. And I'll just tell you from my own experience, like having a coach who's just a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of information that I can trust. Like I know you've gone and vetted these brands. I know that you've done your research, and then, being able to get that information as a client is just was so helpful for me. I remember on the other end of this. So that's also part of this, right? Like we can provide resources and
Yeah.
recommendations and, you're not doing it alone. That's the benefit.
Yeah, having a team in any facet of your life only helps bring you up.
Exactly. Okay, so rounding out this podcast, Michelle, tell me like if you could share one client success story. Tell me what that one is.
So I feel like I always go back to this one, but it always makes me so happy. And it also always makes me tear up a little bit. But it was during COVID. I was working with someone in their 20s who socially was a little uncomfortable because their skin was really broken out. And so wearing a mask was comfortable and great.
Mm.
And so it was like a good way to hide. And so I remember meeting in the initial, and then afterwards we went back to my room to go over some of the information, the meal planner, and and he had said, like, I don't really feel comfortable. I don't have that many friends. And it was basically because of his skin. And we worked hard on his gut. And I mean, I'm smiling even telling the story because I remember he didn't want his pictures up to share with everybody, but we have those pictures. And he felt so confident. He actually went out and got the type of job where he's out with a lot of people selling homes where you have to be in person, visual, and the confidence was amazing because we were able to clear his gut, to clear his skin. Um, and there have been so many others. I have some great other stories, but that one, if I can share one, that one is like the feel good because he was young and really like, I want to say in prison because of the way he felt about how he looked. And by clearing his gut, we cleared his skin because we all know it's all tied together. It really opened up his life, and he's so young and he has a bright life ahead of him. And
Oh my
it just makes me so happy.
Wow. And how lucky was he to even have you as his coach to help him navigate through that? Because I'm sure it
The
was
whole
challenging.
Yeah, it really I give it to the whole team because Merrill was obviously integral in the testing and,
Yeah.
you know, getting the protocol, but keeping him on board with the foods you needed to eat because the day to day really, really made a difference. Now he was determined. It's different when you have someone who's like kind of wishy-washy and you have to pull them around.
Yeah.
He was on board and really wanted to make the change, and he did. And so I am continuing to celebrate him, and it's been a while.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That is such a
What about you? Share one of your stories.
Yes, I will. What a success story, though. Wow. So one client that really comes to mind, we had this middle-aged man who came in, had a lot of post-COVID symptoms, had become kind of agoraphobic due to him not trusting his body. He had very strange things happening where his heart would race and he'd feel like he was going to pass out, kind of some pot stuff. Um, and just like stopped driving, was working from his house because he couldn't really go into the office and had a lot of gut stuff going on. And so he signed up for like a 6-month program with us. We helped him heal his gut, which, like we know, everything happens from the gut. And, we slowly but surely started creating some little goals because he really wanted to get back to working in his office. He had a very demanding career that required him to travel you know, um, he had a big family and he had to drive his kids around and he was, crippled by his
Yeah.
condition. And so we created like some little small goals, and some of his goals were like, okay, I'm going to go to work for an hour and then, in person, and then come home, and I'm going to drive my son to, you know, scouts and come back. And so we
Huh?
created these really small little goals, and they started to give him more confidence and trust in his body, while at the same time, that's the behavioral lifestyle stuff, we were working towards really specific targets of helping him heal the gut. And so, 6 months in, his markers were all so much better. He was back to working full time,
Wow.
traveling to different places for work, and just started feeling so much more that he could trust himself, trust his body. But like you said, he was motivated, just similar to your client, and was willing and ready and eager to do what he needed to do to get his life back. And, so it was just, I felt so lucky and such a privilege to be alongside him, helping coach him through it. And I know, just as somebody who suffered and felt like I didn't trust my body for a long time and felt like it failed me, how important the mindset piece was, and just doing little baby little steps to get you closer and starting to feel more confident. And ultimately it all paid off. And it was
That's amazing.
I was sad to see him go. I'm not gonna lie. Oh,
Yeah, you gave him his training wheels and then he took off.
yeah.
That's incredible. It must have been so great to watch him step by step
Oh, it
go through this process.
It was. So that's just one story. There's so many others like that. And, I just think, it goes back to the passion that we have to want to help people, and those clients who come in who trust us and who are like, hey, I'm here, I'm open, I'm vulnerable, I'm raw, like what do I need to do to get my life back? And I just think we have such a really unique thing that we do here at the Brandwein Institute. And being a coach has been something that I think I always knew I wanted to do, but didn't actually put into action. And, here we are doing this together, and ways that are so meaningful. And yeah, I don't know. What are your like parting words, Michele?
You know what, I love what I do also, and I feel like listening to you, obviously, and I know you, but I feel like
Mhm.
people who don't know you can feel it and hear it in your voice. Jill is the exact same way. The energy is incredible, right? We are here to help, and loving what you do makes all the difference in the world. And having someone by your side who is going to guide and support you in helping you reach your goals, what more could you ask for? So, it's really special what Merrill has created in having the coaches, and so I love that we decided to do this. Like, Merrill's the way the coaches are playing, because it is a different take. Everybody, your personality, mine, Jill's, all a little bit different, and we all have a different flavor, which is nice. And we feed off of each other, we learn from each other, and we learn and grow from our clients also. So the whole synergy of everything that Merrill has created is a gift to all the clients.
Absolutely. And very unique in terms of just the functional medicine world in general. So I'm grateful to be a part of this team and to be plugged into this practice and to be able to help every single client that I meet. And so yeah, I'm so glad we did this, Michele. I think you're right. Like, it's nice to be able to kind of spotlight or highlight what it is that we do behind the scenes that really
Yes,
only
yes,
our
for sure.
clients get to know and be a part of. And so I do think it's important for the world to know that, like, this is what we do. And anybody who is interested in working with us and joining, our amazing team in helping us guide you to better health, then, it's our great privilege to be able to do that for you guys.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, I think that's a wrap, right?
Yes, I'd say so. All right.
All right.
Signing off, everybody. Have a great day, and hopefully you like the podcast. If you have any questions or anything stood out to you, please let us know on all the different platforms.